Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. My name is Fergus. I am your host. I am joined by my good friend, my sidekick, my old man, Gunnar Hilsey. And I'm also clocking Ben. Ben Bennett is joining us as well. And we're going to talk about the Forest defeat and getting knocked out of the FA Cup. We're actually going to cover all the three competitions we were in before the weekend, which is the FA Cup, the League Cup with Liverpool, and then we'll touch on the North London Derby, which is coming up this weekend. And guess what? I've got my ticket. It's my first away trip to the lane, as they say. And I'm a little bit twitchy about it. Ben, welcome. Earphones are working. Everything's working.
So far, so good. Thank you very much for having me back on. Looking forward to this. Good to see Trev again. Good to see yourself. Yeah, ready for this.
Well, Trev is he's either on a different Zoom background or a different area, but it just looks brighter and fresher. Where are you?
I'm already up here, mate. I'm already up the northwest, ready for tomorrow night, mate. I don't muck around. I'm going to have a proper trip. I'm up in St. Helens, staying with some relatives tonight. I'm in my Auntie Barb's bedroom now, and my Auntie Barb and Uncle John's bedroom now. So my computer's precariously on a ledge, and I don't move because the bed squeaks. No more comments on that. But looking forward to it, Fergus, because unlike a lot of people, I've let Saturday go now. It was very disappointing. We're going to talk about it, but we're Arsenal fans, so we now look forward to tomorrow night and hope that we put in a much better performance. So looking forward to it, mate, and looking forward to some people joining us, hopefully, mate. And obviously, always good to talk to my very good friend, young Ben there.
Yeah, right, okay. Thank you, as always. Listen, we are going to invite people to join us. What we'll do, first of all, we'll do the normal sort of like the prelude to looking at the Forest game, and then we'll invite people to join us on gunsandyellowribbons.com. Click on join the show, or you can go to gunsandyellowribbons.com/show. It doesn't work quite now, but it will work in a couple of minutes once we activate the link. And then if you've got your phone the same way as Ben has on Landscape, it just works a lot better. And have your earphones in, it's easier for everybody. We will put the call us sign up when we're taking calls, but we'll do that. Trevor, talk to me about the Forest away. I booked a hotel. I had to cancel it because you bottled it again. So I drove up and drove back and had 2 pints of beer all night, and that was it. Ahead of that game, while we're in the stadium at 10 past 5, the FA Cup draw was drawn. And we're all looking with anticipation, and we saw that it was going to be a home tie for Nottingham Forest or Arsenal versus Leicester. How would you have enjoyed that one, mate? You do that while I switch this link over.
It's not even worth thinking about what would have happened in the next round because we've not got past Forest. I've just been talking to Ben before we came on air, and it was the strangest of days. It was the strangest of days on Sunday. It really was. It just something, I don't know why, but something didn't feel right from the start for me. There was a big Arsenal contingent, but there was a lot of people that weren't regular there. And I'm not saying they're not welcome. Of course they're welcome. Everybody should go to watch the Arsenal. But the atmosphere just didn't seem right from the start for me. And then, of course, Arsenal come on the field wearing white for a massive, massive cause, a cause that we're all behind. The reason they wore the white, but we all know that teams from North London that wear white don't do very well, and that proved to be the case on Sunday. So, yeah, it was just a strange old day. We never looked like I don't think we bothered their goalkeeper into making a save. And what's really frustrating is the fact that he's the goalkeeper of a bang average Championship side. They're not the worst, but they're not the greatest Championship side, and they're a side that we should have put away comfortably. And we were poor, very poor.
And Ben, what did you make of, because you texted me before as well, and you said the atmosphere felt flat. and you cited the example, and we'll get into the game itself, but because Trevor's mentioned it the way he did there, 2,300 can go to Burnley and make more noise and more atmosphere than you got 5,000 Nottingham Forest. I replied to you, it was an awful game. It was a dreadful game. And at 80 minutes, to be honest, I just wanted a goal. And I wanted it to go our way, but I really didn't care as long as it was a goal, because I didn't want to do another 30 minutes and extra time and penalties. What did you make of that atmosphere then and the lead up to it?
You boys, but I don't know what you boys thought about the pub side of things, but I know a few people did mention the pub didn't feel exactly the same thing as we've witnessed to other away games we've been to, where we've had the pub first and everyone's buzzing, and they didn't seem the same vibe there. But even the concourse, it just didn't feel like a normal away game. I don't know if it was. Sometimes you can get. Sometimes you can always can't get enough people there, but I don't know where you've got an end as spread out as that, you don't generate the same atmosphere anyway. You get pockets of fans here, there, and everywhere willing to make a lot of noise. I think Trev picked it up about obviously when we was wearing white, and even that can sometimes. I know it's only a minor thing, but I just didn't feel like I was watching the Arsenal out there in a white strip. I mean, it's just something we're not used to, and sometimes when you need to get the atmosphere going. I mean, we were used to obviously playing in red or playing in the yellow, and you can get the Red Army going or yellows, and it generates something. Whereas we're out there playing in white. What are we supposed to kind of give them a kick from that? I think, yeah, it's a really strange one.
So Ben, you talk about that white strip, and we know what that white strip was done. It was Idris Elba, Ian Wright, and some other players who mostly born and bred in London and South London. And it was the No More Red campaign. It was a campaign against knife crime. And I know lots when I'm reading on social media, including Facebook groups and so on, they talk about, it's about knife crime in London. But I'll tell you what, Manchester, Liverpool, all the inner cities right around the country. So it wasn't just aimed at London. We happen to be a London club. But what did you think of the? Go on, Trev. You come in. What did you think of the initiative? What do you think of the strip? And so on.
Ferg, we've got to be careful what we say about this white strip, because we should all be fully behind it, right? Being born and raised in North London, and over the years, the stabbings and have got worse. And what's happened is, in my view, this is only my view, but the people in power that could really do something about it have been pushing the issue to one side, Fergus. And I think Arsenal have pulled a blinder, because Arsenal can't directly change the amount of stabbings and that, but they can draw attention to it. They're a high-profile, big London club, and they've done exactly what you would want them to do. They've started initiatives and they've drawn attention to it. And from my view, what they're saying now is right. This is real high-profile now. This issue in London, we've made it that. Now deal with it. Let's start dealing with the problem instead of talking about it. I mean, you hear on the news nearly every day a kid's got stabbed in London, right? But you very rarely hear on the news, here's an initiative to stop stabbing in London. You hear it occasionally, and there's some hard work going on. I know there is, but it ain't enough. It ain't enough. So it's up there now. The profile is out there now, and let's hope there's some action taken, because these kids, they don't know better, and for every kid that dies, there's a family that is ruined for life, not just for a while. A kid that dies, there's a family that's ruined for life, and there's more and more families getting ruined every day. He's right. I can't talk about it anymore, Fergus, because it upsets me. No. It's my town. It's my town. I love that town, but it's I can only talk for my town, London, because that's all I know about. But Andy's right that it's going all over the place. As for the atmosphere, right? Well, it started badly because did you go in the Notts County Club, Ben? Did you go in the Notts County?
No, I was supposed to go in there, meeting up with a few, but I got to the front and there was one in, one out, and the queue was massively long, and then a few people were coming out, and they were saying it was about 40 minutes for a beer. That wasn't interesting me, so I ended up grabbing a couple of tins on the way to the ground and then going in a bit early.
That should have created a huge atmosphere. It was a massive club, right? It can hold thousands in that club. But the organisation at the bar was zero. You couldn't get... We were in there half an hour. We didn't get anywhere near the bar even. Yeah. So we ended up coming out and going to the Navigator up the road and having a couple of pints, which is nice. But it doesn't get that atmosphere going. And then, of course, you mentioned the concourse, Ben. And the concourse at Forest was weird. It was only tiny, wasn't it? I mean, it was very narrow, very tiny. There was a lot of faces there I never recognised. There was obviously a lot that I did. And it just didn't get going at all down there. And then, of course, I think they did try in the ground, Ben, in fairness, but it needed the Arsenal to maybe even only a shot on target from the Arsenal, or 5 minutes of pressure would have lifted them enough to get them going. And I'm not making that as an excuse for the crowd not being behind them, as we know they should. But I think 5 minutes of pressure from the Arsenal would have lifted that crowd, Ben. I don't know about you, son, but that's the way I see it.
I think, I totally agree. But I also think a lot of the fans that turned up there on Sunday just expecting us to just roll them over, to be honest, just waiting for something to happen. And sometimes it can be flat like that. And I think it happened a few years ago, the same sort of thing, didn't we? We expected to go out there and just turn them over. But a lot of people just kind of think, stand there and kind of wait for something to happen or get a shot target. Sometimes it needs to be the other way around, when we need to try and lift them. I know we always think it's Nottingham Forest, but sometimes they really needed us as well. I mean, there's no excuse. It's 4,600 up there. Amongst us, we should be making a good bit of noise, and it just didn't really happen.
There was some banker apparently in the grey that we were all singing to over close to us, and he was going to cry in a minute and stuff like that. And that was the height of the activity that we had throughout the game. Gunnar Hilsey has arrived back. He's had a bit of an issue with the internet. Let's look at the game then. So Arteta had made a number of changes. For me, it showed the strength and depth in the squad. And for me, when people criticised the manager for the performance and the fact that we got kicked out of the cup, I said, how can you really blame the manager when that's the squad he had available to him? He kept in Saka, he kept in Odegaard, he kept in Gabby Martinelli. And he played Leno, and Leno he's too good to be number 2, but he's not my number 1, if I'm honest. But we had debuts for Charlie Patino. We had Tavares on the pitch. You know, there was a mixture. Trev, what did you make of the lineup? What did you make of the performance? And could Arteta have done much more with like COVID injuries, AFCON?
Yeah. I don't know who had COVID, Fergus, to be honest, but the players he put on the field should have been good enough to beat that Nottingham Forest side, right? You would think before the game started. But as the game went on, it quickly became apparent that some of the players we had on the field weren't, in fact, going to be good enough to beat Nottingham Forest. Patino is obviously going to be a class player, but he didn't look good enough to be at that level, to be honest. He needs a bit longer, maybe. Eddie and Ketia I'm going to get my head bitten off for this, but he just doesn't look the part for me. It's just someone who I know very well was in the crowd, sat behind me at the weekend, right? And he's a very honest man. And he said to me, Eddie needs to go. He said, because let's be honest, we've had our hopes on Nelson, Willock, Maitland-Niles and Ketia for the last few years now, and we're not going to be good enough. They're not good enough players to get us to the very top. They're our youngsters. They've come through, but they're not babies anymore. They've all played a lot of football, and I think Eddie is part of that bunch. He's not going to be good enough, and we need to find ourselves a top-class striker, because as much as I love Lacazette, Ferg, Ben, and I do love Lacazette as a person, he lifts our youngsters, he puts in a massive effort, he's always positive and running about, he's trying to raise the crowd, you know, he gets his arms going, but he don't score goals, and he's our striker. And we needed a goal against Forest on the weekend, right? And we bring Lacazette on. We're going to be lucky if he scores us a goal, because he don't score. He hasn't scored hardly all season, you know. So we were in trouble. I couldn't see where a goal was coming from. And when Nketiah did miss that chance, I mean, you can't put that down as a chance. It was a bang easy chance. It was harder to miss. And he didn't even get the ball moving towards the goal. It was that bad. And it's not the first time he's done it this season. He's done it even worse at Everton. He hit the post from about 6 inches. I still don't know how he's done that. So this January, and I know we're going to talk about this January, for me, it's blaringly obvious. A striker. We need to sign a goal-scoring striker.
Ben, your thoughts on Tavares? Tavares gave a couple of hospital passes to Leno in particular, and Leno was, Christ, if he didn't take that header, we're 1-0 down very early in the first half, which was a dull half at the least. How did you feel about his substitution? How did you feel about his performance? Was it called for? Would you have started him in the first place?
Yeah, I would have started him. Yeah, 100% would have started him. He started the season okay, didn't he? With Tierney was out, he done all right. He didn't play very well at Anfield. So, yeah, it was an FA Cup game against Nottingham Forest. That's the games you're going to start those sort of players in. Yeah, it didn't go there very well. It didn't go very well for him, did it? A few mistakes there, and I don't know what he was doing. That one with him and Leno got a bit of a mix-up, and yeah, obviously could have cost us. But yeah, he got rightly so. Arteta is showing that he at times he is quite ruthless, and he's not afraid to take someone off if they're not doing the job, are they? So yeah, the right decision, and Tierney replaced him. But for his confidence in that, he probably will be really annoyed about it, because it was a chance for him to show what he can do. And yeah, it's a shame he couldn't even do it against the Championship side.
Yeah, and yeah, the first half was pretty dire. Second half, to be honest, I feel that the right back for Forest had probably his best game for a while. It was quite strange that he was on loan from Middlesbrough. Spence was his name, and he nullified Martinelli quite a lot. And then Forest introduced Graben on the 67th minute. And he's been quite successful against us before. He scored in he scored goals against us for Norwich, and he scored goals against us for Watford, I believe. And when he came on, it just really changed the pace. And at that point, as Trevor alluded to, Charlie came off for Lacazette. What did you think of Charlie starting? What did you think of his performance, and was he way out of his depth? I'll go to you first, Ben, and then to Trev.
I think it was right for him to start. I mean, with the injuries and the COVID and AFCON, and I think it was just he probably had no choice but to start him. You obviously would like him to start him with a little bit more experienced player in Xhaka or Partey alongside him, which would be a lot better for him. With no disrespect to Lokonga, between the two of them, it turned into and it was on paper a weak centre midfield partnership. But I don't think Arteta had much choice but to play the two of them. He didn't do too bad. I thought in bits he was all right. But yeah, we just weren't strong enough in the middle of the park, and it's a bit. And when you go to these places, even the Championship sides, you really got to have a little bit of strength in the middle of the park, and we got a little bit. We struggled there.
Trev, what's your thoughts on Charlie's debut? You know, he was a little bit out of his depth, and you touched on it already once, but the fact that Arteta had to take off Odegaard, who wasn't having an amazing game, but he wasn't having a bad game. I don't think the side really suited him to a certain degree, but to have to bring on Lacazette, who couldn't score if he bloody tried half the time. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Lacazette. I think his performance generally, he adds an awful lot more to the game than his goals. But when you want a striker, somebody to score a goal, and this here is our alternative of what we're going to get from our forward striker, which is Eddie's header, which the floor is open, Trev.
Look, right, I can't move on from Patino to start with, but Charlie Patino was given his chance. He deserved his chance because the round before he played against Sunderland, who are a League One side, a league below Forest. He'd come on and he had 10 or 15 minutes at the end, didn't he? And he really looked the part, scored a goal, played really well. So there's no reason why he shouldn't have given him his chance against Forest, but it was clearly obvious that from a strength perspective, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for that challenge. So I feel for him, but he's got time. I also feel for Tavares, because for Tavares, I don't know what was going on with Tavares, because he's actually put in some good performances for the Arsenal. Earlier in this, I know they had their youngsters out, but earlier in the season against the comparative side in West Brom, Tavares was up there in man of the match, you know. So Tavares, he had a stinker. Let's hope that Ben touched on it nicely, but let's hope that Tavares having a stinker and Arteta hooking him early off will actually be a G up to Tavares rather than something that he's going to sulk over. He needs to get on now and show the manager that he's worth his place. The midfield was weak. Lokonga without, dare I say it, Xhaka or Partey, who have both been playing really well in the last few weeks and have been a massive part of our improvement as a team. Lokonga without either Xhaka or Partey, having to carry the younger lad, it wasn't working, and that was clearly obvious. And Fergus, you've nailed it. You just confirmed what I said about Lacazette. We all love Lacazette. I don't know an Arsenal fan that dislikes Alex Lacazette. I genuinely don't. But his job title, his job description is striker, and he doesn't score goals. And you can't have a striker in the side that don't score goals, regardless of how good he is in every other area, because it's simple. It's a simple game. If you don't score goals, you don't win games. You know, it's that simple. And so we really need to be looking at a striker. And where is it? Yeah, Andy, think you're right, mate. I would have put that header away 99 times out, 100 times out of 100. I would have put Eddie Nketiah's header away against Forest and against Everton. I'd have had 2 goals this season now, so I wouldn't have done a lot else because I'm fat and I'm 60. I'd have scored them 2 goals because I'd have goal lung and put them in. Wouldn't have missed.
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say 70, but and I've said you look good for it. Listen, you can see the link down the bottom, gunsandyellowribbons.com. Click and then click join the show. The link is now live. Join the show. Our first caller comes in from Peterborough. It is Dale. It is Dale, isn't it, Dale?
It is indeed. How are we doing, Fergus?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. Good. Thank you and welcome to the show. Listen, the FA Cup third round, second time in 27 years, we've been knocked out at the third round, and it was to Forest. What did you make of that performance?
I think the performance really speaks for itself, really. I mean, you've probably gone over this time and time again in your own heads, like I have several times. And one of the best things about social media these days is Twitter, but also one of the worst things about social media is Twitter. You see kind of all sides of the coin. And just when I think I'm getting over it, I then see something on Twitter which makes me boil over again. And I just think, you know what, when we've had a bad day like that, the best thing is just to switch off and just get on with it, right? And I know it's easier said than done to get on to the next game, but for me, it highlights just how much we lack squad depth. We have some fantastic young players coming through. I've heard you talk about the young Charlie. It's great for the future, but we need these players kind of to an extent now, especially with the African Cup of Nations. There's no surprise that this was coming up. We knew for a long time we'd be short at least El Neni and Partey throughout this period. The Niles loan, I agree with. I just think the timing was strange. We've had the opportunity to do this time and time again and replace him before now, but we haven't done. So Forest, incredibly frustrating. And I think some of the senior players, I was just hearing there about Lacazette. You're right, nobody dislikes Lacazette, but I think you hit the nail on the head. He's a striker, but doesn't score goals. It doesn't make any sense. It's bonkers to think that at the moment he's our only focal point. I think I kind of look back over the last kind of 2 years, and I think for so long we've had a problem in the defence. We've now shored that defence up, and I'm actually quite confident now starting back five. Ramsdale, I'm loving the fact he's proving the haters wrong, because at the start, before he even played, people judged him. Tomiyasu as well, the same. Sky have got a bit of egg on their face there, as I'm sure you've probably seen the infamous clips. But is he a right back? Is he a centre back? He's not either, apparently. But yeah, well, we've seen he is, right.
Dale,
what we couldn't have predicted. Sorry,
you talk about Sky. You talk about Sky. It's Kavanagh on Sky.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the
one. Trevor's biggest friend. Trev, talk about Kavanagh and Tomiyasu to Dale. Come off mute, will you? Jesus Christ, he's 80 years of age, not 70 now. I've aged you. Go on.
Hello, Dale. Nice to meet you, mate. By the way,
and you, bud.
I'm sorry about the background. So I'm already up in the best way for me to forget about Sunday was to get myself up the northwest ready for tomorrow night. So I'm already up in the northwest, mate. Already up on Merseyside. Looking forward to tomorrow night. I'll put that behind me. But I don't know what are we talking about? You know, it's that bad.
I was going to talk about Kavanagh only because you can't stand him and he talks absolute rubbish.
Well, this is my point, Fergus. See, you mentioned that name and it doesn't even flick a switch in my head because you know
Trev, let's move it on to the.
Wait a minute.
Go on.
You can't mention Cavi without just, hey, watch your mouth, son. You'll be gone. You'll be out this show. He's just. I don't know how he gets the gig on Sky because some of that stuff he spouts. I mean, we've all seen the Tomiyasu now. We don't need to go over that in depth. But someone that can actually sit there and not just. That night, he didn't just give an opinion, right? He laughed. He thought it was that silly. His lack of knowledge was that bad that he laughed at the fact that we had bought, who's turned out to be probably the best right back or very near the best right back in the league this season. He didn't just say that he wasn't sure about him or he could be good, could be bad. He laughed and said he's never a right back. He's never a centre back. And his words were, I don't know what they're going to do with him. And he laughed. Cavi laughed. That's what we've got on Sky. That is why whatever you see on Sky, you can't believe nowadays.
He's Sky's version of Jamie O'Hara.
No, he's not that bad, is he? Hey guys, let's look at the Liverpool. Should be the second round, but it's the first round of the semi-final in the League Cup.
First leg. Round. First leg. Jesus Christ, this bloke reckons he knows football.
You're so old.
I think the frustrating thing about this Liverpool replay is the fact that it's come out. I mean, you've seen it on the Facebook channels, for example, and in the Athletic, that Liverpool have come out. So they were saying, right, the equivalent of getting 10 false positives, you've got more chance of winning the Euro Millions.
1 billion. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you've got more chance of winning that Euro Millions. And if you look at the landscape, 1 week ago we were in a very, very different position, and now all of a sudden we're in the same position that Liverpool were in. However, we're expected to just get on with it. We're not hiding behind any false positives. I think we all knew that was a bit of a con that Clipperty Klopp was trying to play on us all when it came to him fielding some first team players, several first teamers on the Sunday, just 2 days later. I mean, I'll take my hat off to him. I mean, it took Jesus 3 days to resurrect. Klopp did it in 2. So fair play. I mean, credit where credit's due. But I think we have gone from being in a very strong position this time last week, and I would say arguably favourites to beat Liverpool, and you don't get that very often these days, to now probably being on the back foot. And we've got 2 central midfielders, potentially Xhaka back with a negative. I'm not sure about that, but I think this highlights this last kind of couple of games, the importance of people like Xhaka. And I know he divides the fan base, me included. But him and Partey have drummed up one hell of a partnership, and the two of them bring the best out of each other. I mean, granted, he's still got a yellow card left in him at every opportunity. But at the same time, he brings stability to that midfield, which we're lacking in several areas at the moment now. And I'm a bit concerned in midfield, to be fair.
Ben, your thoughts on this game? Dale's raised a good few points about going into it on a really, when the first tie should have been. We were in a stronger position before the AFCON, before injuries, before COVID, and now we're probably not as strong. And I'll save the other topic about the false positives with myself and Trevor. We'll have a talk about
that. Evening, Dale. Good to meet you, mate.
And you, Ben?
Yeah, basically, I'm still absolutely gutted that game was off last Thursday. I think I was so confident we could go into there and even pick up a little 2-0 or something like that to go to Anfield with. Yeah, it's just that's Klopp and Liverpool doing what they do best, don't they? I mean, yeah, I just it's a little bit deflating, really, the way it's turned out. Now we're basically in a position where now we've the first leg's tomorrow night, and we're probably going to have to play another couple of stronger players where we might have maybe have got a result at the Emirates 2 or 3, and we probably could have maybe put those 2 players on the bench and kind of with obviously the North London derby coming up. So it's just, I don't think the preparations have been very good for this. I think it's the same with what happened at Forest. I thought Arteta's obviously got the Liverpool game in mind, and then for that to get blown out the window, and then I don't think the preparations for Sunday was that good. And then I'm not making excuses for Sunday, but I'll bypass that quickly. But yeah, it's a tough one now because it's like I say, with what he's got available, it's made this game very, very tough tomorrow night, and very chance is they're going to be a lot stronger than they were last Thursday.
Ben, wait a minute, Fergus too soon. Fergus too soon. Too soon.
It's 3-0. It's 3-0 and an away goal. It's got to be done, isn't it?
Away goals don't count.
No. Dale, I don't know. We won't mention it again. We're talking about Tranmere Rovers versus Blackpool or something like that. We're not talking about anybody else, okay? So just I'll just sit here and smile. Go on, Tranmere Rovers. Go on, Mike Dean.
Look, do you know what, Fergus? The boys have summed it up really well, in Liverpool. I honestly think they've got no shame because and Klopp has gone down in my estimation massively. How he could come on and give that interview. Just the gall of the man, the front of the man, But the fact of the matter is, this comment from Ewan sums it up, right? If Liverpool can get away with it, or if any club can get away with it, it's not just Liverpool that have done it. They're going to get away with it
as well.
It once again comes back to the people at the top. Just like we say about referees, it goes to the top. It's the same with this, right? Strange, and it's strange how we spoke about it before the show, Ben and myself, I think. The people, they said the FA Cup, if you can't put a side out, you'll go out, you'll be gone, And there wasn't one team cried off because of COVID at the weekend in all the FA Cup games. Now, that, for me, right, even with my limited intelligence, which we all laugh about at times, that is just a simple indicator, right? It's a simple indicator that something ain't right. If 1 week a team can put, not one team cries off, of a game of football because of COVID. Yet 2 days before, Liverpool can cry off because of COVID. And then on the Thursday, then on the Saturday, they can put out a team that contains a mighty strong set of players. Probably a stronger team as they've played in any other round of the League Cup.
Have you seen, though, Trev, that, again, this is unconfirmed, but it makes perfect sense that the person who has the say as to who, if they could call that game off or not, was a guy who's quite high up, who's previously been the CEO of Liverpool Football Club, a certain Mr. Rick Parry. If that, the question remains, if that was anybody else, and we'll never know the answer to this, if this was anybody else, would that game have got called off? The answer is no, because the rules state, I think it's if you have 14 players, including a goalkeeper, that game goes ahead. And in Liverpool's squad, did they have that many players and a goalkeeper available? Yes, they did.
Yeah.
There's no rules about first team players, but that's the whole reason you have a squad of 50 odd players. So games go ahead, because what we're starting to see now is it's not just the COVID piece. Games are being called off through COVID and injuries. When has that ever been possible? If somebody's missing their star players, it balls me inside.
We had a discussion last week when we were talking about VAR and goal line technology and VAR decisions, especially around the Man City game, with the discrepancy between the tackle on Odegaard versus the Xhaka pull on Silva. VAR wasn't available at Nottingham, but look at the pull that you're looking there on Ben White. He did go down like a sack of proverbial, but we talked about the big C word and what could be involved with the money that's involved in this game. We're not saying there's anything corrupt about football, but when you look at that, you had how many fixtures over the weekend? Every FA Cup fixture went ahead over the weekend, Trevor, and yet we have games being called off in the Premier League. We got games being called off in the EFL. It's just ridiculous. Trev, we touched on this and we said we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, well, you see, your C word.
I'll be careful.
Well, your C word is. Let me phrase this properly. Was the opportunities for conspiracy, right? Are there opportunities for conspiracy? Are there? Not there are there, right?
Yeah.
So let's leave that at that, because for me, the biggest word, right? The massive word when it comes to games being called off, when it comes to penalties being given, when it comes to VAR, when it comes to referees, is consistency. There is absolutely no consistency across our great game, the game that we all love, a game that at times recently I've struggled to stay in love with at Premier League level, because you look at the pull, you just showed the one on Ben White, right? And you showed the one where he gave a penalty against Xhaka, where he was already diving and he pulled the shirt. I'll challenge anybody to look at any Premier League game this season and tell me there hasn't been a game where a defender has actually wrestled an attacker to the floor in the box and nothing has been given. There isn't a game. It happens every game.
Trevor, I think you've hit the nail on the head there when you say the consistency. The one what gets me, which makes me realise VAR doesn't work. It doesn't work depending on who's doing it. Do you remember against Palace and Saka got absolutely taken out clean from behind, and VAR didn't even. They looked at it for a matter of seconds. Yet to this day, that still comes up as one of the most controversial moments of VAR that I know of, that I can think of, that I can remember. You must remember the incident, right, against Saka?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's consistency, because ultimately the technology works. VAR works. It shows in other leagues, in World Cups and European Championships, it works. What doesn't work is the people running the VAR. And I think Arsene Wenger hit the nail on the head when he said, if you look at big tournaments, you won't see an English referee because they're not good enough. It's the standard of refereeing, and that's probably a whole conversation on its own, because the whole purpose of referees going professional was to make sure they were of a better quality, a better standard, and to avoid conversations such as this. Yet the debate still goes on. And it comes down to not VAR, but to the standard of refereeing. I mean, that for me is the biggest problem.
The problem with the referees is they answer to nobody. They answer to nobody.
Exactly.
You know, they think they are the Lord Almighty, and they're not very good. When I saw Atwell getting the ref's job I watched the Southampton Brentford game last night, and the referee is Stuart Atwell, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you know, just over a week ago, you probably changed the outcome of a magnificent game of football. You changed the outcome of a magnificent game of football because you weren't competent enough. And we've not heard a word about him. We've not heard a word about anything that might have happened. We've not had Mike Riley come on the telly and say, look, this was the issues. This is what we've put right. No, he just gets the gig next week and it doesn't matter. They answer to nobody. They don't care. They don't care, you know. And it's so frustrating. It's the consistency. And it makes like last night, it took them 4 minutes to find a way to disallow that Villa goal. You know, and in the end, what they disallowed it for, Cavani just run into a bloke, you know, and they disallow it for a block on Cavani. Well, the bloke never moved. Cavani just ran into him. So it is a joke, VAR. And, you know, before we had VAR, we all remember that we all got on the referees' backs, right? We watched the game of football and we called the ref the W word and we called the ref this and we called the ref that. But we knew that the referee was giving a decision on what he saw. And then right in the back of your mind, you knew that the referee was a human and he had to give what he saw in the heat of the moment. And you can sort of make a case for those mistakes, you know. But you can't make a case for this VAR. You can't make a case for him giving that penalty against Xhaka for that little shirt on a tug on a player that's diving when every week you see wrestling and nothing's given. You can't make a case for it because there's VAR and that's what it's there to do. And the only thing that comes into your head is exactly what my very good and best friend Fergus said, is the C word. It is a massive opportunity, I'm being careful what I say here, for conspiracy within our game of football. VAR could, if used in the right way, VAR could make millions and millions of pounds for certain people. It could. I'm not saying it is. It could. And it does get your mind thinking when you see these decisions made every week. You think, Jesus Christ, how is that happening? I'll say it for the third time. How are they penalising Xhaka for grabbing the shirt of a player that's already falling, that's going nowhere? Yet next week, a player can be rugby tackled to the ground and they give nothing. Consistency.
I think part of the problem, though, Trev, is the fact that, especially with Xhaka has a reputation. There are several players out there with reputations across varying teams. And if there's, this is where, for me, there's a little bit of, I don't want to use that C word, but people have a thought towards certain players rather than others. You've got the golden boys of each team. You've got the golden teams where the sun shines from the proverbial. But then when you've got Xhaka, you speak to anybody about Xhaka. You speak to your friends, you speak to your people in the pub, whoever you may be, and they'll say, oh, yeah, he's filthy, he's dirty, he's a walking yellow card, and he doesn't help himself. But I think that if we have that opinion and other people have that opinion, then these people at the top of the game, these people looking at these decisions and making them, they're going to have those opinions as well. And that's where I think it's hard. Where do you draw the line? Because yes, Xhaka is passionate. I mean, he recently came out and said he can't tackle like he wants to tackle because he'll get booked a lot more than what he already does, and we already know his booking record. But like Sergio Ramos, another one, he's got a reputation for being a dirty player, and I think that doesn't help the situation. And that all again comes down to who's manning that VAR. It's the technology itself, it works. The technology is fantastic. But the key thing is, for me, they always say for clear and obvious errors. Was that a clear and obvious error?
But if it's clear and obvious, and Ben, I'd like to bring you in because you've been quiet for a little bit as well. But if it's clear and obvious, it shouldn't take, and this is the 4 minutes. I didn't watch the Man United Villa game or the Villa Man United game. 4 minutes to find a guy who was trying to get himself back on side and not really interfere with play, just get himself back on side so he could interfere with play. And looking for first offside, second offside, and eventually somebody interfering with play. And it just seems really, really, really strange. But it's not clear and obvious. Clear and obvious is what Dale said and what the rules say doesn't take 4 minutes. Should they set a time of maybe 30 seconds for VAR, then stop the clock. The referee goes over and he makes the final decision at the screen. What do you think, Ben?
Well, yeah, going onto the screen, not just the other night, but the game against Man City. One of the penalties is checked on the screen, and one of the penalties is not. How can that be so inconsistent? It's ridiculous. Both the Odegaard penalty and their penalty should have both been checked on the screen by the referee. Whether the decision would have been different, who knows? Because we're not getting them at the moment. But that's down to the consistency, and that's where VAR is totally wrong. Someone is not doing their job up there, and like Paul said in the chat, said Mike Riley is part of the VAR. That just says it all, really, because you know how corrupt he is. But yeah, they need to start getting this right, because, like Trev said, some people are going to be making a hell of a lot of money out of it, and it's a shame, a real big shame, because we've got all the technology in the world to get it right.
None of us said that they could make money out of it. We said potentially, that's how it could be. Because
potentially, yeah,
we would never imply anything like that.
But it's something that could hang over, and we shouldn't be talking about it. That's the thing. We shouldn't be talking about it. The amount of money it costs to have it, and it's causing too many problems. I was going to actually mention Atwell as well. What happened with Atwell against Man City when he's gone in front of Martinelli has never been mentioned till that day, and it's not going to get mentioned. Why? That was ridiculous what he got away with there, and he was never even questioned about that.
Well, you see, the thing is, Ben, they're not. The referees are above the I don't know. They're above whatever. They're never questioned. We have these ex-referees on the television, and they very rarely disagree, if ever. And they make up these goddamn awful excuses as to why the decision was given. The only bloke that makes a bit of sense, ex-referees, is Keith Hackett. Keith Hackett was a referee a few years ago, and he's on Twitter, and he's worth following because he'll actually say it as it is, Will Keith Hackett. Yeah. He's a refreshing change of view to what we normally hear from ex-referees. He actually says it how we see it. Because what happens with these referees and with these ex-referees is we see something, and then they tell you in their own way that you've not seen that. What you actually saw was something else. And it's a complete and utter load of bunkum. The only way they change referees is by calling them out, by suspending them, by making VAR either consistent or non-existent, right? One of the two, right? But look at what was the last major tournament? Was it the World Cup or the
Euros last year, wasn't it?
Euros, yeah.
VAR worked all right, didn't it?
Yeah.
VAR worked really well. There was no English people doing it,
Yeah.
That one you mentioned against Man City, right, the Xhaka one. I'm telling you now, I've never seen a VAR decision replayed on a big screen at the stadium. But whoever runs the big screens at Arsenal and puts the clips up was obviously of the same view as us, because before the penalty was taken, he had shown it on the big screens what they had given a penalty for. And the crowd, well, you were there, boys. The crowd went absolutely loopy. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. Anyway, look, boys, this is
Trev, we got slightly sidetracked because we're trying to talk about the Liverpool game in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final. See, I learned. I listened. Midfield options. Ben, who are we going to have in the midfield? And before you answer, Ben, if people do want to call in, gunsandyellowribbons.com, click on that and then join the show. Terry was very vocal to Trev last week, said, I didn't know I could join. Just go on the website, Terry, click on it, join the chat, and we'll bring you in. And
he's not got a bottle, Ferg.
He's not got a bottle.
Terry,
all right.
Just in case people are watching, I'm not being out of order with Terry there. Terry's a good mate of mine. We've travelled to watch the football together for many years. All over Europe, we travelled together. But he talks the talk, but he won't walk the walk on here, my mate. So,
well, if anybody else can walk the walk and wants to come on with us two dragons and chat to us, we'd be more than happy to have you. In the meantime, Dale, if you're happy to stay, we'll keep you on.
Yeah, I've only got a couple of minutes because I've got to sort the children out. But just a quick thing on the midfield. I don't see many options. So what I'd love to see, I'd love to see Odegaard maybe drop back and play a little deeper. So I think he's got the ability to do so, which would then bring Smith Rowe back into the starting 11 as well, which I think he deserves. That's what I'd probably go with a midfield pairing of Sambi and Odegaard sitting that slightly bit deeper.
Ben and Trev, I was talking to. If do you need to go now, Dale, or are you going to stay for a couple of minutes? If not,
I've got a couple more minutes, but I'll drop off camera though, just in case. I'll free up the screen for someone else. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to check out Peterborough Gooners, they're on Facebook. Anybody in the Peterborough and Cambridge area, check out the Facebook group.
Well, I travel from Peterborough to every game. Yeah,
you go through Peterborough.
I do. I live in Lincolnshire, mate. So most of the home games, I drive down to Peterborough, mate, and get the train from Peterborough Station. Yeah.
You've probably seen us on the train. Whereabouts in Lincolnshire?
I live up just north of Boston, mate. I'm about
Market Deeping.
5-minute drive to Peterborough. You
Market
what, mate?
Deeping.
No, north of Boston. That's
no. I'm in Market Deeping.
Oh, I'm not far away at all. Then.
Not far away at all, Trev. We'll have to catch up for a beer soon.
Mate, you have. Bit posh round there, Market Deeping.
That's probably my cue to drop the camera then, guys. Anyway, I'll
thanks very much. No night to the kids. See you later, mate.
Guys.
Cheers. Bye.
Yeah, no. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, bye. Ben, what's your thoughts on the midfield selection? I know Dale just said about putting Odegaard in there, but I don't think Odegaard is fantastic in that. I don't think it brings out the best of him in that defensive number 8 role. I think he's better in number 10 role. I was talking to a friend of mine, Trev was in communication with him as well, Charlie, who we met at the football, and he's going up to Liverpool tomorrow. And we're talking about potential lineup. So you could bring Chambers in, but Chambers in the right back position, drop Tomiyasu into the centre half alongside Gabriel and Tierney, and then push Ben White up into a midfield role. Do you think that would work?
Possibly. I thought about that today, actually. I think, well, I'd like to say that Patino is obviously just going to drop out, isn't he? So the option is whether Smith Rowe is going to be fit. If he's not fit, then it's probably likely to be, I wouldn't be surprised if Nketiah keeps his place and Lacazette drops into the 9, Odegaard drops in next to Lokonga, and they'll probably just keep the back four the same. But I think again, it's a game where you really don't want to be playing all your good players, but we're kind of being forced into it, aren't we? We didn't really want to play Ben White and Gabriel together probably tomorrow night. We wanted to give someone else a chance, but I think we've been drawn into playing a stronger side than we probably could have done, and ahead of a Sunday. So no, I reckon he'll go Odegaard, Lokonga in the middle, Lacazette will play the 9 and Nketiah up, and he'll play. He'll probably still play Martinelli and Saka out wide.
Trev, thoughts on that possible lineup that myself and Charlie were talking about?
Yeah, it's really interesting, mate. For me, if Xhaka's fit, Xhaka and Lokonga playing midfield. You know, if Xhaka's not fit, you don't bring in Patino or someone else. You either you drop Odegaard deeper, which we've seen already once this season, or as we've said, which is a great call because we all know how good we've seen how good he is with his feet. You pull Ben White forward into the midfield. So I'm honestly hoping that we've got Xhaka fit and we play Xhaka and Lokonga. Think that we can work if we don't play Patino, we can work our way around the midfield. What's worrying me most, Fergus, is if Smith Rowe don't play, right? And I don't know where a goal's coming from. Saka, yeah, he scored a few goals this season. If you've got Saka, Smith Rowe, and Odegaard and Martinelli playing, right, You've got 4 players there that have scored you a few goals this season without being an out-and-out striker. If you've got Lacazette in the side, which I think we will have, you're not expecting a goal from him. So that means that one of your 4 backup goal scorers is not going to play in the team, you know. So that's one less opportunity to score. I really am that worried about Lacazette's lack of goals. I really think it's that important. I think it's more important than our midfield, Fergus. I think we can swap that around. I want to see. I don't know is Smith Rowe fit? Do we know if Smith Rowe's fit?
I don't know. Smith Rowe had a calf injury. I don't know if he was just being shielded against the Forest game because they got some of the kids out. If Smith Rowe's fit, that means you drop Odegaard back and you put Smith Rowe in the number 10. If Smith Rowe's not fit, then you have to look at maybe playing Chambers or Ben White in that position. Xhaka has been out with COVID. Will he be available? And do you risk? And I'm not going to take the. I did think this, but Dale has just messaged us and said, "Do you risk Xhaka in the in this game, where it's a 2-legged affair when we need him for Sunday as well?" But then again, part of me thinks, Christ, Xhaka's bound to get a red card on Sunday, and we're going to talk about Sunday very briefly soon as well.
Ferg, listen, we play. I'm not having it. I'm not having this. We need to rest players or players are tired at this part of the season, because we've just had a week off because Liverpool cried off, right? We've just played really poorly against Nottingham Forest. So we've now had 4 days rest. We play Thursday, we play Sunday, we play Thursday. And then in February, at the moment, we've got a maximum of 3 games, right? If we reach the Carabao Cup final, we've got 3 games in February. If we don't reach the Carabao Cup final, we've got 2 games in February, in the 4 weeks of February, right? So Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, those 3 games are now define our season. They now define our season, right? So we play the strongest possible side Thursday, Sunday, Thursday this week, and we worry about what happens after that, not before it. We worry about what happens to our players after those 3 games. If we run them into the ground in them 3 games, we run them into the ground in them 3 games, because the League Cup is our biggest chance of winning anything, and it deserves our full attention now, our full attention. And the game on Sunday is against our biggest rivals, who none of us like. So we put our strongest side out in them 3 games. We don't pull any punches. You know, we risk everything, and we put our strongest side in them 3 games. And after them 3 games, then we reflect and we look at what we've got. And we think we've got 2 games in February to get through, or 3 at the most. Then we start looking at it. But we play our strongest side.
Totally agree, Trev. Totally agree. I think we just got to go for it, because like Trev said, we've got very, very minimal games in February now. So it's a case of we've got to go strong, see how this month pans out, and then we deal with it after that. But these next, even Burnley at home is actually an important game as well, isn't it? You want to actually get to the end of January now and in a good place. So strongest team all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ben, predictions for tomorrow night, not the overall tie, but tomorrow night, predictions for tomorrow night. And if it was not a win, well, I'll give you a prediction. Go on.
Right. If we don't win, it's got to be very, very close. It's got to be a 1-0 or 2-1 defeat, something like that. Because I can't see, to be honest, I can't see where the goals are going to come from either, to be honest. I know we've scored 5 at Norwich and we've scored 4 against Leeds, who were obviously a bit under strength as well. But Liverpool at Anfield's going to be a bit different matter when you haven't got an out-and-out proper number 9. So I can't see us banging in any more than probably 1, even if we might get 2. But we've got to keep the scores down, and then hopefully take them on at the Emirates next Thursday. So I'll go. I think it'll be. Go on then.
Careful.
I'll go 1-1, and then. But I wouldn't be overly too disappointed if we end up losing 2-1. But I don't think we'll win it.
Okay, Trev.
4-0.
Okay, realistically, if it's not a 4-0,
Fergus, on a serious note, right? If we put our strongest side out, I'll be happy. If Ben has rightly said, in a two-legged game of this stature, if you can come away from Anfield with at the worst a 1-goal deficit, you're right in the tie. You're right in the tie, because next week Emirates is going to be full. Emirates is going to be full next week, and there will be an atmosphere. There's always an atmosphere at Arsenal home games in semi-finals, second legs. One of the greatest atmospheres I ever saw was a League Cup semi-final. I think it was a semi-final against Everton at Highbury. Massive, massive atmosphere. And so what we've got to do is we've got to come away with no more than a 1-goal defeat tomorrow. I honestly think we could nick a win if the consistent Arsenal turns up, because it's happened again, hasn't it, Fergus? I've got no notes tonight. I'm just sat in a bedroom, right? The inconsistency showed itself again, against Forest, didn't it? We played awful against Man United, got beat by a team we should never get beat by. Played awful against Everton, got beat by a team we should never got beat by. Then we go and win two or three games and play magnificently. And then we lose a game that we should never have lost. We play magnificently. Yeah. Oh, I think there's a phone
pizza,
in the
minicab, car service.
We lose a game. So, and then Forest, we drop right back off again. I don't know why we do it.
It's normally me. It's him this time. It's normally me.
I don't even know where that phone is in this bedroom. But anyway, I'm going to go with because Liverpool have not got their strikers. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for the Arsenal tomorrow. A 1-0 win for the Arsenal tomorrow. I want to get.
I think I'm with Ben. I'm more of let's keep it tight. I'd go for a 0-0. I'd go for a 1-0 Arsenal, a 1-0 defeat. Just as long as we keep it within 1 goal, because exactly what you see, Trev. The Emirates will be rocking if we can keep this game within control on the 20th. It will be rocking. Listen, a game that is going to be rocking is this game. It's the North London derby. I'm putting this on screen because I'm covering up every QR code and everything else in case some toe rag decides to borrow my seat. Not that I don't trust anybody, but I don't. I'm going to my first North London derby away. A bit apprehensive, but really excited about it. Arsenal are without Thomas Partey, without El Neni, without Aubameyang, without Pepe, and there's an Omar Rekik, who's a squad player of some sort. But 4 first-team squad players were missing. Tottenham are without a guy called Pape Sarr, who's actually on loan from the club they're both from, which is FC Metz. So they will be more or less at full strength, but they'll have no Son. Ben, no Son. Is that a very important omission in their squad?
Yes, definitely.
Hold on. You froze me for some reason.
Ben's gone missing.
Fergus,
you're back. You're back.
Can you hear me? I can't put my headphones in. I've had to put my charger on. So
that's cool.
You might need to mute me. Is that all right?
No, you're fine.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm all right. Yeah. All right. Anyway, Son. He's one that's a huge threat to us, and he's a massive player for them. So it's a big plus for us. I think Sunday all depends on how we reacted after Sunday, which is tomorrow night, and what sort of performance we put in tomorrow night, and what kind of result we come out of it. If we end up going to Anfield and we lose, then Sunday turns into a real tough one, and it's tough anyway. But I'd love to see a confident, positive result tomorrow night going into Sunday. But yeah, I mean, Son, whatever happens, Son is a big miss for them. So, and it's a huge plus for us. But they've still got dangerous players anyway. I mean, Kane always seems to pop up against us somehow, even though he is what he is. But it's a North London derby. Trev, you'll be there as well, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I will be. Are you there tomorrow night, Ben?
No. I'm not there tomorrow night. It's basically it's a full day off, and then I'll get back at 5, 6 in the morning, and then I'm trying to get up for work, and my holiday's only just been reset, and I've just got to try and balance it out over a whole year. It's just impossible. But I'm gutted to miss it. Absolutely gutted. I'd love to go up there and try and back the team and get a result, but you just can't do them all, can you? I think this will be the last away I'll miss this season.
Mate, I'll start.
But yeah, I'm looking. I'm still. Whatever happens tomorrow night, I'll still be buzzing come Sunday, and I still think we'll go over there and we'll get a result.
Okay, result. What result are you going for?
2-1 to the Arsenal.
Okay. Trev, how much will we miss Son? Who do you start in the centre of the park? If Shaka's fit, he's got to start, hasn't he? And what's your prediction?
How much will we miss Son? We won't miss Son at all because he don't play for us.
No, you know what I mean. Will it be that big of a benefit to us?
I know exactly what you mean, Fergus, but I'm not going to miss the opportunity to see a chink in your armour and dive straight in, Son, am I? Come on. Son is a decent player, but he's also a winner of free kicks and penalties. He's a really good cheat. So we'll miss him not just for his footballing skills, but for his cheating skills. Ben is exactly right. Kane's got this habit of popping up and scoring a goal against us, but looking at the two squads and the two sides, I still think that if all our youngsters are fit, we're a better football team. I really do, especially now across the defence as well. I can't see Tottenham scoring against us. So I fancy like a 1-0 or a 2-0 to the Arsenal. I really do. If we score 3 like we did at Arsenal, we'll let one in because we've got that habit of doing that. I think we relax a bit. But I could see a 1 or 2-0 to the Arsenal on Sunday. We'll all be really happy, and we'll get home, and that'll make our season then, because we'll go on Thursday and reach the Carabao Cup final, and we'll all be smiling again, and all the haters will be loving Arteta again. The flip will have flopped again, Ferg.
Well, we know how the flips flop and float and all that sort of stuff as well. Listen, before we finish on that, what is your favourite North London derby memory? Like, it's my first trip, and as I said, I'm a tad apprehensive about it all and everything else, but I'll be fine because Trev's got my back, I hope. And what's your favourite memory? Ben, I'll go with you first as the guest. Oh, sorry, Ben, you're on mute. I'll unmute you. Sorry. There you go, Ben. Sorry.
Thanks, mate. I wish I could sit here and say that it would probably be when we won the league in 2004, but sadly I wasn't actually there. I didn't actually go at all that season. I was supposed to go the second half of the season, but I'm one of these superstitious people that, because we had lost, I wasn't going to go until anything happened, and I ended up going the whole season, not go. So, but I've seen us win there a few times. So, I mean, I think one of the best nights I had up there was, are we just talking about just at White Hart Lane, or are we talking about just
White Hart Lane?
Derby? Right, go White Hart Lane then. I'd say in 99.
What are you doing?
Sorry, don't worry.
Dear, rude.
Right, I think, boys, if you'd remember, 99, we probably should have won the league. Well, we probably would have won the league. And then we blew it up at Leeds. Remember, we played Tottenham just before. And we won 3-1. Kanu done that little flick over Luke Young's head. And we won 3-1 up there. And I think we was... Man U went to Liverpool and only drew. So we was all actually up in the away in there singing. I think it was some of us were singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," because obviously they'd done a job for us. And we come out of there absolutely buzzing. It was 3-1. It was an amazing night. It was brilliant. That probably be up there. It's probably one of the best ones I've been to at White Hart Lane. I saw the 3-1. Andy Boyle got a couple. Cess got one. I think it's about 2007-8 time. That was a good day, actually, really good. And I saw the Flamini. He got a double the other year in the cup, and that was a good night as well. So I've seen a few. I've seen a few disappointments as well, but I'll say the best one was '99 because that was a real. We should have won the league that year, but that would have been unbelievable if we'd won the league after that.
And Trevor, your favourite memory at the Lane, and can we answer this question as well, and then we will call it a night.
I was going to put that question up for because that's a great question from James. It really
give us your memory. Give us your memory first, and then we'll talk
obviously, about that. One of my earliest memories of games at White Hart Lane was the 5-0 win when Brady scored that cracking goal, and people forget that Alan Sunderland also scored a hat-trick in that game. That was a wonderful day to be an Arsenal fan at White Hart Lane. Obviously, when we won the league there and Tottenham managed to get a draw and celebrated like they'd won the league themselves, that was hilarious. That was another great day. But my two favourite goals of both, I mean, there's been lots of goals. If you look at replays of Arsenal v Tottenham games, you can do it on YouTube and just see the goals, right? There's goals that you've forgotten and you think, oh, Jesus, I'd forgotten about that goal. But the two best goals for me I've both seen that I've enjoyed the most were scored at Highbury by Arsenal against Tottenham. Firstly, the run from Henry in his own half, right? Amazing. The run from Henry in his own half to go through the Spurs team and score. I've never felt a lift like it. And the other one was the Perez goal, the Robert Perez goal, where he curled it in. Two magnificent goals and gave us great pleasure. As for the question from James Fergus, looking at the perspective of what he thinks is the way you judge a tougher game, from a purely playing football perspective, Liverpool's always been a tougher game because Liverpool have always been a better side than Tottenham, right? Ever since we can remember. But from a fan's perspective, a tougher game to watch, especially when it's 1-0 or there's one goal in it, a tougher game to watch and a tougher game to suffer a loss in, there'll never be anything tougher than the Tottenham game. Because trust me, as an Arsenal fan growing up in the Tottenham area, right, it was the toughest week of my life. It was 2 weeks actually, because it was a week before the game. I used to just people wanted to kill me because I was an Arsenal fan in Tottenham land. And for the week after the game, if Arsenal had won, they'd want to kill me because we won. And if Arsenal had lost, they'd want to kill me just to rub my face in it. You know what I mean? So it was from a fan's perspective, it's always going to be the Tottenham game is the toughest game to suffer. Yeah. From a football perspective, purely a football perspective, Liverpool's tougher because Liverpool are a better football team than Tottenham. Always have been, probably always will be. You know?
Trev, 1 second, I'll take it off mute. Go on.
And Andy put one message up in the chat there. Rizicki's goal at White Hart Lane was probably one of the best I've actually seen at White Hart Lane, and it was probably one of the sweetest wins actually. First minute, and they pretty much battered us for the rest of the game. And it was some atmosphere after that coming out of there, and after the game, we was in there for about half hour, 40 minutes after the game. And it was a really sweet win. That was. Always remember that. It was brilliant. I think 2014. I think.
You see, that's really good. See, I know that goal, right? But I was trying to think then, and I know it's my age, but it just happens that I'd forgotten all about that goal. And now you've mentioned it, yeah, of course, you know, absolutely.
Absolutely belter, wasn't it? Right from the corner of the box. Brilliant. Yeah. First minute.
So, crap question, guys. Given the option to win the North London Derby or to progress to the final, which looks like against Chelsea in the League Cup, one answer. Which do you choose? Go on, Ben.
Who are you asking first?
You.
Because
why do you have to? I don't want a silly question. I don't want to have to answer it. Do you know what? Beating Tottenham means everything, doesn't it? So it's. But end of the day, I always want to win our next game. So I want to win tomorrow night first before we play Tottenham. I want Arsenal to win every single game they play. And they're both massively, all three games, obviously 2 against Liverpool, 1 against Tottenham, is massive. All 3 are massive games. So we want to win every game. We want to win trophies. We haven't won the League Cup since 1993. That would be nice to get another bit of silverware. But it's a huge debate, isn't it? Everyone's entitled to a different opinion.
Trev, very briefly, because then I've got another question for you. Well, I've got a question and an answer, but go on, Trev.
There's absolutely no way on this earth will I ever answer a question loaded like that. Not a chance in hell, Fergus.
Didn't expect it.
What you're saying to me is, which game would I prefer Arsenal to lose? I don't want Arsenal to lose any game, Fergus. So there's your answer. Move on, son. Move on.
Well done. Right, final thing. Tony Fain asks, Big T, a friend of the show, asks, will Trev buy me a beer on Sunday? Well, you're never, ever going to believe this, Tony. Just keep an eye out.
He's only ordering a beer. He's only ordering a beer. Can you believe? Look, he's even got his card out. Blimey.
He bought a beer. He bought a beer.
and it's a Peroni, which is probably one of the dearest ones. God.
Oh, I made sure I went for Peroni. If I was only going to have 2, I was going to have the good one.
It wasn't even for me, that Peroni. There's no way I'm not buying Tony Fain a beer on Sunday because I just won't, because I'm not keen on the man. If I'm honest, I'm not keen on Big Tony. No, actually, I love Big Tony. I love Big Tony. He's a great lad. But the fact of the matter is, I probably won't see him on Sunday because he'll avoid me because he don't like seeing me because he knows he's got to buy me a beer. So he's on board.
It's the pins beforehand. That's where the majority of people are meeting up. I don't know where we're going, Trev. Or we haven't fixed everything, but I am so looking forward to Sunday. I would have loved to go up to Liverpool and be at the game with you tonight, but you know I've booked so many hotels. I've booked so many hotels and cancelled them that I just gave up. Bookings were going to ban me. Honestly, bookings were going to ban me. To be honest, I said to you, I was just trying to behave myself a little because I hadn't been overly well for a week or so. So I was just trying to be a little bit good. So saving myself for Sunday, and driving 300 miles on last Sunday and driving another 400 miles tomorrow. There we go. Listen, on that note, thank you very much for watching. Ben, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
I'm going to have to mute him. I'm going to have to mute him.
Yeah.
Ben, thank you very much. Sorry, he can unmute himself. That's the thing.
I have the power.
Sort it out.
I have the power. I might take him out completely here, my airy-faced friend. Listen, Ferg, right? Listen, Ferg.
Can I talk now?
We can't end this show, right, without saying that the next, we just reiterating, right, for the few people that watch this that might go to these games Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, right? We need the support. We need to lift the side. I don't care how badly we're playing. We need to lift this side because these 3 games are the 3 most important games we're going to play this season. So come on, right? Get behind them. We'll be there tomorrow night, loud and proud. You know, Fergus won't bother. Ben, I feel sorry for because he goes to every other game. But we need to be loud and proud tomorrow night and Sunday at the Lane.
You want to hear the story, right? Okay, before we go, the story, because now he's done his tangent. Wolves away is all. Wolves away is all booked, and I sorted the ticket out.
And laughing too loud.
and I come along, messaged Trevor, he said, I'm in this hotel. I said, it's a bit more like a B&B. I said, I'm all right with that hotel, this, that, and the other. I said, and he messaged me later in the day, "You sort your hotel out yet?" I said, "Yeah, all sorted." I said, I'm looking at the Novotel in Wolves. And he went, "Oh, okay, no worries, mate." So I come along and send him a message, go, "No, I've booked the hotel you're staying in." And he says to me, he says, "Oh, I've booked the Novotel." I've gone, bloody hell. So I've cancelled the hotel that Trevor was staying in and went to book the Novotel. But I'm just about to have dinner. I said, "Stop, don't do anything. I'll call you after dinner." So I called him after dinner. And after dinner, I rang him up and said, "So are you still booked in a Novotel?" "No, mate, I've not changed hotels. I've always been in the same hotel the whole time. The first one in the first place." So he's just a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. And you have got no right of response. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Ben.
Enjoy tomorrow, Trev.
You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too.